this governor of Nairobi is in contempt of parliament, and we have him mentioned adversely as somebody who does not comply with parliamentary summons which require him to account. And I want Leo to tell me whether we are sitting as an investigatory committee or what. What powers do we enjoy?
Yes, we are an investigatory committee.
We are.
But yes.
So, in this particular case, should we have this guy named specifically? No explanation has been given, and he has decided to appear before us. If he appears for vetting, suppose next parliament is proposed to be a cabinet secretary, shouldn't that be documented?
Yes, we can mention him advisory in the report.
So we can?
Yes.
Because there is the Parliamentary Approvals Act, which has a paragraph where you feel whether Parliament has ever made any adverse report against you. So I think, Chair, that should be our entry point. Yeah.
Okay, that's a raft of proposals. There's asking the IG to produce the governor. There's the issue of the fine, and finding that the governor has grossly violated the constitution, and therefore perhaps questioning his fitness to hold public office. Okay, so I think we can deliberate on how to apply the three. Let me ask Senior Counsel, even though this is quasi-judicial, in the judicial system, where does contempt of court lie? Is it a minor infraction, or is it something at the core of a rules-based system? How do you? What's the severity and what's the severity of contempt of court? Because if people defy courts, then the rules-based order collapses. So if you draw parallels to it, this is contempt of parliament. Perhaps you have treated it as a minor infraction. In the judicial system, is
What's your view?
Problem with contempt, it's very wide because it's usually at the discretion of the judicial officer on contempt of court.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What I've seen, Chair, if you show disrespect to a court, like in the case of Ahmed Nasir, the court has ruled that you will not enjoy audience before that court. Yeah? So it's
what would happen to society where people choose whether to obey court orders or not?
anarchy. There will be anarchy.
powers to certain institutions for the orderly governance of our affairs. The question that you raise is that look at the figure the figures that are involved there. That employee costs included an amount of 840 million, where even the beneficiary lists, the claims, invoices and approvals, or any documentation to substantiate those payments were not provided for. You skip to page 3 there. There is irregular and unsupported withdrawals from the salary account, a figure of 1.9 billion during the year. And then the Auditor General is telling you the withdrawals were not supported with payroll summaries, registers, payment vouchers, or approvals, and were not even processed through the payroll system. Chair, skip to page 6 of the audit report, and we are talking about unsupported and long-outstanding trade and other payables. You will see we are at 75 billion Kenya shillings. It's a case for concern. Chair. Yes.
The 75 is greater than 1 year.
Yes.
Over 1 year.
Absolutely, yes, Chair, you are right.
But the total amount is 87 billion.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you can be given a copy, Honorable Member.
Yeah. Then
the fourth issue that I have flagged, Chair, is unsupported expenditure on garbage collection, which is a big issue in Nairobi. We come here and we harangue the county and the country about flooding in Nairobi. It's a problem with garbage collection as well. And you will see there that although the county executive procured various private contractors and assigned them to specific zones for solid waste collection, the county also operated 56 solid waste collection trucks for which it incurred fuel expenditure amounting to 124 million. Supervisory reports to demonstrate that the trucks participated in garbage collection activities. So you have 544 million, which you have given private contractors and assigned them. You're saying you will do Kileleshwa, this one will do Kilimani, this one will do Umoja One. But you also have the actually paying these contractors for doing nothing. That the county trucks, because we don't see where the county trucks are going. If you don't have an activity log, how is we supposed to know that the contractor who was given Lavington actually collected garbage, and it's not the 56 garbage trucks that we paid for that did the job? Chair, I want to move quickly to issue number 5, and it is related to that garbage services. Look at the figure involved there, 1.6 billion Kenya shillings. And the Auditor General has listed a total of around 6 issues. You can see 6 issues there in this arrangement of solid waste collection, transportation and disposal, all totaling about 1.6 billion Kenya shillings there, so that people know that we are not here to discuss trivialities. There is no other county that has these figures. I think there are counties that are receiving, when we just talk of 2 billion that was withdrawn from the salaries account, Isiolo is wondering, that's the entire budget for Isiolo. These are serious issues. Then there is the infamous Dishina County. Dishina County is at page 19 of the Auditor General's report. You will see here that 15 billion Kenya shillings. Am I reading that figure correctly? Is it 15 billion or 15 trillion?
15 billion. And
yes, 15 billion
services.
Now, this program was established through Executive Order number 1 of 2022. Look at the number of issues around Dishina County. There is a total of 13 issues flagged by the auditor. An issue there at page 45, that even in the supply and delivery of male condoms, there was irregularities. We are rotten as a county, Honorable Chair. Then the last one, irregular procurement and inconsistencies in training activities in Dubai. Order with an unrelated description of contracted professional services, lead manager, for the exact amount of 2.9 million shillings, suggesting a possible duplication of events. Because there was another 2.976 million purchase order for provision of air tickets, visa and travel to Dubai amounting 2.9 million shillings on 16 September 2024. I have chosen, and I thank my colleagues for indulging me, I have chosen just those 10 issues to demonstrate to you that Nairobi is no ordinary county. That go to Nairobi. If we did that alone, I think we would have advanced the cause of devolution. So, Chair, that the county governor, and I am aware, I hear he was in the Senate yesterday. I don't know which committee it was. But, yes, but Chair, the Committee of Lands is not discussing these figures. The Committee of Lands is not discussing these issues. They are the senator of Nairobi, all the conversations we want to have with the entity called Nairobi County Government must happen in the Senate. You can't call me somewhere else. If you refuse to come to the Senate, what am I supposed to do? Honorable Chair, I don't think we are at liberty to go to our governor's residences to have these conversations. So I want to make an appeal as a senator of Nairobi. The Senate come and ask for money. We have done our best as senators. We have pushed the envelope for you. We are the ones who've been making noise about 450 billion for devolution. But if my governor is unable to come, so that we have these conversations that have been flagged by the Auditor General, not by Sifuna,
exercise oversight beside these committees of the Senate, because you can't call the governor to Kamkunji grounds in Kibra and rest through conversation, through consideration of reports of independent institutions. That if anything was to go wrong, it has gone wrong in Nairobi. Everything. Senator Dulu, I remember you complaining about advisors in Isiolo. In this report, it emerges that the governor of Nairobi has got advisors for every other docket where there is a CC and a chief officer. He's got 7 advisors to advise on things that would be handled by the substantive CCs and chief officers. So, sometimes you ask yourself, by the time someone decides to become a governor, they should understand the challenge that is before them, rather than again outsourcing their functions to advisors. I think there's something on page 33.
By the way, Chair, for your information,
irregular engagement of council.
establishment of the county. So they are all directors now.
So in this case, the governor appointed 7 advisors, a health advisor, yet there's a health EC and CEO, a political advisor, innovation, technology, and digital economy advisor, all that. Like a small infraction.
No, it's not small, Chair. In fact, if you conclude reading that paragraph, the advisors you spoke about, on average, each one of them earns 203,000, and therefore the extra advisors earned a total of 9.7 million Kenya shillings. This is not pocket change, Chair.
So, Senator Lelego, you had not gone on record. Even Senator Dulo, I don't think you went on record.
Fatuma Dulo is your member.
I'm Lelego to this, Senator Samburu, member.
Thank you. Honorable members, so far I think Senior Counsel gave a structured proposal. 1, to ask the Inspector General of Police to produce the governor. 2, to impose a fine on the governor. And 3, to find the governor to be in gross violation of the Constitution, and therefore we can make an adverse finding against the governor. Any other comments from colleagues before we agree on which of those 3 options we exercise? And Senior Counsel, I think that all the 3 can be applied.
Are they excessive in any way?
Yes, we can exercise all 3.
Yes, we can exercise all 3.
Yes.
The only thing is we can't report if we have asked for him to be brought before us by the IG.
We can't?
We can't report until the time when we've asked the IG to bring him to expire.
Remember, the Constitution requires us to complete this task by next week, Tuesday. So we must ask the IG to produce him next week on Monday. And I think the distance between the IG's office and City Hall is not between the IG's office and Samburu. So I don't expect that the IG will give us excuses that he cannot find the governor. I think we must find an innovative way
you need to address is whether the
Operated on that earlier in chamber, and we are agreeing that oversight cannot be done through exchange of correspondence. Oversight is a public undertaking. It's a public exercise with a lot of public interest. If Parliament was going to reduce itself to consideration of correspondence, then we will lose faith and trust in the eyes of the public. I think whereas in court processes you can file submissions, but what we do here is quasi-judicial, quasi-political, because we are a political institution. The leader of majority last week gave a communication that came from deliberations of the Senate Business Committee that where governors have been invited and summoned and they fail to appear, we will adopt the report of the Auditor General as is. Because we don't want to put the Auditor General in a situation where she is varying her report, the report that was tabled on 31st of December. That report cannot be varied. In fact, even when the governor appears here, we are not changing your report. We are just listening to the governor, and the governor can tell us during the time of audit we had this problem, but we have implemented ABCD. During the time of audit we didn't have this document, but now we have found it. So I think to address that concern, if the governor of Nairobi chooses not to appear before this committee, then we will go with the report of the Auditor General as is, because that is a report that has been procured and processed by a constitutional body. And I think that was a position that the House took 1 week ago. So we will give the governor another opportunity to come. And since he does not want to come willingly, we are going to ask the Inspector General of Police to bring him. So I think just to deal with that concern.
was the fine also.
So we can also, so we're on the fine. Do we agree that this contempt is one that warrants a fine?
Yes.
So we'll propose that we impose a fine of 500,000, the maximum allowed under the law, on the governor of Nairobi for failure to honor our summons. Then there's a third leg of it, which the legal team advises that we make that determination on Monday, whether the governor is in gross violation of the Constitution and whether this Senate can come to that conclusion and even reach the conclusion that is unfit to hold public office. I think the Public Audit Act gives that power to Parliament. Are we on the same page, Patrick?
Yes, Chairman.
The Public Audit Act gives the power to Parliament.
Recommend that an officer who has failed to provide information as required then this committee can recommend that they stop holding public office.
So that is also an option that is available to us, but the Secretariat advises that we take that view on the 30th of March, when the governor shall appear before us, or in case he fails to appear, then we can take to the House a recommendation against that governor and against other governors who might choose a similar route, that we find them to be in gross violation of the Constitution and therefore refer to the Public Audit Act on their fitness to hold public office. Senior Counsel.
Sorry, through you, Chair. I don't know why legal feels that we all make such that option after Monday. What is the basis of that finding? Because 3 attempts to have him appear, he has declined. Summons issued, no show. This committee has imposed a fine. Do you need more transgressions than those?
Chair, I did mean that, of course, having failed to do it, yes, it is already contempt. The only issue would be, because we have, we expect them to come and we are going to do one report for one report for Nairobi where we want to make that recommendation, then we'll have to wait to do that report after Monday in the event that the IG brings him before us. Because we can't do two.
But if we have gone to the extent of even giving an appointment date when the IG should arrest and bring him here, isn't that enough?
Yes, the decision has already been made. My issue would be, since we are not going to do a separate report for contempt and a separate report for what will happen on Monday, then we should wait for Monday, so now it is in one report. That's all I was trying to say.
Maybe to, perhaps I see the point legal is raising. Remember, we have issued summons to 29 governors, those that have failed to appear before us. And they're all expected to come before us before the expiry of the 90-day period, which falls on Monday, the 30th of March. Those governors who will have defied the invitations and the summons, I believe that your advice can apply. Yeah, the advice can apply. There's still an opportunity for them to present themselves. And Senator Sifuna has raised a matter that we must agree on as an institution. Once the House finds a governor to be in gross violation of the Constitution and therefore unfit to hold public office, of course the Senate cannot institute impeachment proceedings. That is a matter for county assemblies, so it's not our province. But just like in the judiciary, where you cannot appear before any other court until you purge content, we must also move the House that once a committee finds a governor to be in contempt and to be in gross violation of the Constitution, such a governor should not be allowed to appear before any other committee of the House until that contempt is purged. We cannot be operating in silos, where governors go to one committee and insult the members, then go to another committee and get the red carpet rolled out for them. I think that's something that we must deal with as an institution, and I'll be talking to the Speaker and the leadership of the House to ensure that contempt to a committee is contempt to the Senate. I sit here not as the Senator of Homa Bay. I sit here representing the Speaker. I chair this committee on behalf of the Speaker. So contempt to this committee is contempt to the entire House. So members, we need to build a jurisprudence around that. When Wambora was impeached severally, the 11th Parliament refused to admit Wambora before any of its committees. When Oparanya refused to appear before the Public Accounts Committee then, I think the House resolved that it was not going to be allowed to appear before any other committee. So we need to break down this cycle. Where governors are treating the Senate like a buffet, where they can pick what they want and reject what they don't. A committee where they are congratulated on how they used Flocker at 100 million, or how they built ECD classrooms, or how they are balancing the ethnic ratio, but they don't want to come to answer the tough questions. So I think to summarize the matter of Nairobi, first of all, Auditor General, we want to commend you because even 2 weeks ago, you were here. You are ready to execute your mandate. The county, you came on time and no show. Perhaps this could be a pointer to why we have so many audit issues. Maybe they did not cooperate with you during the audit exercise. We have made 2 resolutions. One, the Inspector General of Police should produce the Governor of Nairobi before this committee on Monday, the 30th of March, and the time will be given. The place is in this room. The Inspector General of Police was here and indicated that where Parliament gives him that kind of advice, he will enforce and will implement without hesitation. We expect the Inspector General of Police to do so once he gets the formal communication from the Clerk of the Senate. Number 2, Because this contempt and snubbing of invitations has become habitual, the committee has resolved to impose a fine of 500,000 on the governor of Nairobi. Number 3, the committee has considered whether this contempt constitutes a breach of the Constitution, a gross violation of the Constitution, and whereas we are convinced that that is what it could be, we have agreed that we will make that determination on Monday. We will give the governor an opportunity to explain himself. We will give the Inspector General an opportunity to produce the governor, and if they fail to do so, then we could make adverse findings on the fitness of the governor to hold public office, which is a power that is given to this committee by the Public Audit Act. So the decision on violation of the Constitution and fitness to hold public office this is not an idle threat. The Parliamentary Appointments Act must certify whether Parliament has made an adverse finding about them. In recent past, we have been focusing on net worth, which is an absolutely useless the 29 governors that we shall adopt the report of the Auditor General, take them to be the truth, forward them to the EACC, forward them to the DCI, forward them to the DPP, and include the IEBC. And in so doing, we will call all of them before a committee of the whole, where we'll be handing over the files to EACC, to DCI, to DPP, and to IEBC. Why are we bringing IEBC in the mix? Because IEBC also has a responsibility to ensure that persons who are running for public office are persons of integrity and are persons without integrity issues and persons who do not have active matters under investigation going on. So we want to push the pedal. So I want to just remind the governors, the 25 governors who have been summoned, that that will be your last opportunity to come and explain yourselves. And if you fail to do so, we will take whatever irregularities, whatever illegalities, whatever violations of the law that have been reported by the Auditor General, we'll take it to be the truth, and we'll be demanding action from DPP, from EACC, and the rest of the investigative bodies. We will present our final report to the House on Tuesday, the 31st of March, and on that day, we will name and shame those governors who have chosen not to account, and perhaps we would consider making certain recommendations, including stoppage of funds, if they are not able to put in place measures for prudent fiscal management. Now, we go to the next agenda, which will be on minutes. So the Auditor General, you are excused. We'll very quickly go through some minutes to enable us to table reports. So quickly we go to the issue of the minutes. The minutes is probably more mundane. So yes, in as much as it's not in camera, but it's mundane proposal and response. So no, because there are minutes of the meetings with the counties. It's not for adoption of the minutes. For adoption of the minutes, it's actually the meetings that were held. So very quickly, Secretariat, please. Which minutes are we starting with? The first sitting. In the first sitting, we had a meeting with the National Treasury to deliberate on the accrual reporting on financial reporting duties at Bunge Towers. Present